Hello, everyone. My name is Aimee from the Projector movement, and I'm going to talk to you today about the head center in human design. Now, the head center is what is known as a pressure center. So there is always this pressure to come up with answers to something. Now, this is the home of our thoughts, our thinking, questioning, confusion, and doubt. And what can be really helpful with this particular center is that grab your human design chart and look at if you have any gates defined here. There are only 3 gates within this center. If you have any of these defined, look into what those gates are and see where this particular pressure might be coming from. There could be a lot of doubt seeping in or confusion. It just depends on what flavor that gate has. So that's a really great thing to look into. Now, if you're thinking, okay, great, I don't have any gates here, neither do I. So it kind of just means that we don't really have a filter. Things are just coming in at us all of the time. Now, with everything in human design, there is a shadow aspect, and then there is a high expression as well. And of course, there is all of the in between. So there is a scale that we will feel things on. So you get to decide at, where you are on this particular scale at any time. So let's go into a few shadow aspects of the head center. So this is where we can become real overthinkers. We let doubt creep in. We get stuck on very small, unimportant details. We question ourselves a lot, and we can become unwilling to let things go. And you may feel this more if you are open in the center, but this is not to say that you won't feel this if you are defined in the center as well. It just depends on how you grew up, what your conditioning is. That really will play into how you're experiencing things in your chart and in your life, I should say. And as well, it will depend on what else you have in your chart. What other centers do you have open or defined? What gates do you have? What is your type? What is your strategy? What is your authority? There's lots of things that will play into how you might feel these shadow aspects of this particular center. So what does the high expression of this center look like? It looks like being logical without being caught up on every single small detail. It's like bigger picture thinking. So not worrying about these kind of tiny, incessant thoughts that are just circulating constantly. You're able to really separate those and realize that, okay, these little tiny details, they really don't matter. And I'm choosing to focus on the bigger questions, the ones that really spark my curiosity, not the ones that send me into a mental spiral of doubt and confusion and questioning. So let's look at if you have this center defined. What does that look like in your chart? It means that you have this consistent access to this internal inspiration, these internal ideas, and you are constantly radiating that out into the world as well. So you are very inspirational. Even if you don't think you are being inspirational, people are picking up on your thoughts and your ideas. And those people are the ones with the open heads. With a defined head center, you are always kind of processing your own questions. And please know that you don't need to find an answer for all of these. Sometimes you might feel like something's not quite right if you don't have an answer to these internal questions that you're asking yourself. But just know that you get to answer the ones that, again, are really sparking your curiosity, the ones that are contributing to your bigger picture, and not the ones that are seemingly tiny in detail or the ones that really don't matter to you. And it's also really great to note as well, if you do have a defined head center, which not a lot of people do, but understand that not everyone is as inspired as you are all the time. Sometimes it can take people with an open head center a little bit longer to catch up. So that's just something to be aware of with this particular center, because it can create pressure in those that have an open head center to really cling on to an idea and to see it through. So what would it look like if you had an undefined head center or an open head center? It can feel like this pressure to act on inspiration that is coming into you from perhaps podcasts or books or a really healthy curated social media feed, for example. So know that you don't have to act on all of these ideas and all of this inspiration, because the mind is not where we make decisions from. The mind is not an motor center of any kind. So there is no energy in the mind to see something through. We can get really caught up here believing that this is the place to make decisions from, and that we act upon things straight away because that's what's landed in our mind, and it's created this pressure, and we're trying to get rid of this pressure by leaning into this and acting on everything. So it's always so important to follow your strategy and authority here, because that is the real guide. Your mind is not the guide. So if you are undefined here, let the answers come to you. So this will be a process and a practice of really letting go and getting out of your mind and into your body, and letting the answers come through your body wisdom. That can be really helpful, because we just get stuck on this loop otherwise in our undefined heads, and we spend a lot of time there. It's very, very loud, and we forget that we have these beautiful physical bodies of form that can help us, that guide us really throughout our days. And now something really interesting about an undefined head center is that you may notice, or you may not notice this yet, but any other center that you have open as well, doubt can creep in through these open centers, and it can be amplified through your mind. So I'm going to give you an example here. So for myself, I have a completely open head center. I also have a completely open heart or ego center. And so quite often the questions or the doubts that I will get coming through my mind are, am I good enough for this? Do I need to prove myself here? And these things can go on repeat. So you may notice this with other centers that you have open as well. And it's just a really interesting process to watch unfold, because once you're aware of something, it can really help you to kind of move through this process or lessen the intensity that you're feeling, maybe these doubts or these confusions and these questions that are in your mind. So it's really important to note that our decisions do not come from our mind. We might think that they do, we might believe that they do, but it's so important to just lean into our strategy and our authority here, because that is our biggest guide, not our head center.